Speak naturally, Joe.
I'm trying to.
Okay.
I was good, baby.
Okay, go ahead. This be outtakes. Go ahead.
Welcome to another episode of Marriage Hacks with Joseph and Miriam. First of all, we would like to apologize. We had some technical difficulties on our first video, part 2. And so we're just gonna skip part 2 for now and move on, but we will eventually go back and talk about marriage and money again.
Because we did so much of that with spontaneous reaction, I was telling Joe that I just really don't think that we could capture that moment again if we just tried to review it.
Yes, it wouldn't have been natural. We would have been it would have felt staged. And so we decided just to move on. But we are gonna start a series called Marriage Glue. And today,
True glue.
Yeah.
Tight like glue.
Okay. Forgive her, y'all. But anyway,
I'm glad I got Joe.
Keep your head up, boy. Keep your head up. That's right. Fight with homegirls standing to
but anyway, today we're just going to skim over each element that the Lord put on my heart concerning marriage glue. And I was intrigued because when I counted the elements that God gave me, there were 9 elements. 9 elements. And I thought about that old saying that cats have 9 lives. And so I looked up the biblical definition of the number 9. And so I'd like to read that before we start going over these different elements. The biblical numerology of number 9 is the finality of judgment. I like the word finality because we talk about
Finished.
yes, finished. You know, a lot of times people get married and they think sometimes they think, oh well, we'll get married and if it don't work out, that's fine. We'll just move on. You know, but no, when you get married, it should be finality.
It's a solemn vow
Yes.
before God.
That's right. And it says, number 9 is the finality of the judgment. It is generally when at the time of judging a person and his works. Also, number 9 is used to define the perfect movement of God. I love that too. When I read that part, the perfect movement of God. So when you get married to that person, it should be the perfect movement of God. Why are you making that face? Why are you making that face?
The perfect movement.
That's right, the perfect movement of God.
Okay.
So just think about it. If you think about marrying somebody and it feels like you all clumsy and you stumbling around, you may rethink that thing and say, okay, is this really the person I'm supposed to marry? Because it's supposed to be like the perfect move of God. And so when you meet somebody and it seems like things are just moving along very smoothly, and y'all getting along just great, a lot of times that can be an indication that, oh, I'm in the perfect mood of God.
That's not necessarily true because the two of you.
Oh, I knew she was about to be the devil advocate. Well, go ahead.
The two of you are on your perfect behavior, brushing your teeth every day, making sure your breath don't stink. Because he gonna smell that breath eventually. She gonna smell it. But being on your best behavior is not until you have your first argument or you see the rawness of this person. Those little habits that they have that you think is so cute. Oh, he just does this and that. Eventually that's gonna get on your last nerve. So it's just really about figuring out who each person is, not just the goo gaga. He makes me so happy. You gotta figure out the good and the bad parts about that person.
Well, that brings me to this trending story on TikTok. A 50-something part story by Risa Tisa, where she
Risa who?
Risa Tisa.
Okay, Risa
She
Tisa.
married a pathological liar. Real quick, we want you to react just to a summary because we know this video is like 7 to 10 hours long. So
now to an ABC News exclusive, an interview with the woman behind an incredibly viral TikTok video series. I know, Robin, you had a chance to sit down with her.
And boy, does she have a story to tell, Michael. Yeah. Teresa Johnson's story of falling in love, marrying, and then divorcing a man she says turned out to be a pathological liar has over 400 million views. We're not naming the man involved. We're using the nickname she gave him in the videos, Legion. With just one question, she had the internet hooked.
Who did I marry?
In her 50-part TikTok series, Teresa Johnson, now widely known on social media as Risa Tisa, details her whirlwind pandemic romance that she says was filled with love, heartbreak, and alleged deception.
I'm going to tell the story of how I met, dated, married, and divorced a real pathological liar.
The viral saga has garnered more than 400 million views and counting. Were you nervous at all about sharing?
Yes, I was nervous, but ultimately I decided if you're going to tell this story, tell the whole story. I also really truly believe the story will help somebody. It costs you nothing to verify, but it very well may cost you everything to not verify.
The narrative spread out over an 8-hour-long TikTok playlist. Part 1, how'd y'all meet?
So we actually met on Facebook dating.
And we also matched on Hinge. I did not realize that he was on both under 2 different names.
There are a lot of things in this story that were red flags. This was probably one of them, but we thought it was hilarious that we matched on 2 different sites. This was a guy who I really, after having multiple conversations with, felt like, wow, you know, where have you been?
Within 2 weeks, she says the couple decided to quarantine together in her Atlanta home.
It was more of a very temporary, he's coming to stay for the lockdown. The lockdown just never ended.
Teresa says Legion told her he had substantial savings from his time playing arena football and quickly took over paying her household bills. Part of the reason that you stayed, was there anything to do with the fact that he said he had money, or you thought that he had money?
I definitely was not with him for the money, but I will admit that there came a point he was paying all the bills and he was being, as he called, a provider. And I had never in my life experienced that before. I really felt like, oh, thank you, Jesus. Like I can just exhale. Yes, that felt good.
now before y'all get deep into the reaction, I do want to point out some things that the young man left out. So on their first, they met on a dating app. They met on a dating app, and their first date, on the way there, her tire blew. She called him and said, hey, something happened, I can't come. He said, drop your location, I'm gonna come help you. He put on her spare tire. He even drove her to a tire shop.
He was the knight in shining armor.
Exactly. He bought her the tire, didn't ask her for anything. They went to the Cheesecake Factory after, and she said she felt like it was finally her turn after seeing everybody in her life get married way before. I think she's in her late 30s and she's a Christian woman. She thought it was finally her time. She gives her better judgment. She moved in with him, or she let him move in with her, even though he was this wealthy man. He was living in a studio apartment. He was just new to the city, so he was just getting his bearings. He was in there paying all the bills, every single one of her bills, except her car payment or insurance. He said, that's what you can do. He said, you know what, I got a pre-approval for this house, $700,000, let's get a house together. She gets pregnant by him. She ends up losing the baby, unfortunately. He didn't even pick her up from the hospital after she had a DNC.
Wow.
He lied about affairs, his social security number. He's given her 2 social security numbers. She finally investigated it and realized how delusional she was. And here we are now.
Wow.
What do you think? I'm gonna let you go first.
I think that she was desperate. And I've seen other videos, other reaction videos about this. And one guy was saying she put it all up front. I'm ready to get married. I want this. I want that. So he already knew all of her vulnerabilities. So he was able to hook her right away. So she put too much out there at one time. She basically made herself the bait by putting all of her business out there at one time.
Also, I think she was very impatient. Moving him into her place and stuff. That even if she had her first initial instinct about this man was, oh, he's a good man, she shouldn't have just up and moved him in her place.
Well, Joe.
Well.
Be real bad.
Well, Joe.
I put my foot in it. I put my foot in it, y'all.
I don't want to come off as judgmental. But I think about our courtship.
Right.
It was a whirlwind.
It was.
Now, true, we were living in a different time. It was the late 80s, 1988. But
spare no detail.
I can't tell you everything. But Joe decided right away that he was going to marry me. I decided right away that he wasn't.
But let me say this. I went before God. and I
Daddy, did you?
Yes, I did. And this is before I met Miriam. I went before God because I had been looking all in the wrong places. And I said,
in all the wrong places.
And I said, Lord, I'm going to put it totally in your hands. I'm not going to look anymore. And I kid you not, right after I said that prayer, not long after I said that prayer, I met Miriam. So I knew, even though I knew without a shadow of a doubt, she didn't know.
No, I didn't.
But I knew.
I was Diary of a Mad Black Woman back then. I was a very angry woman. I wore a sailor's hat, and Joe said I cussed like a sailor.
You sure did.
Yeah, I did.
Just like a sailor.
Just like a sailor. If it started with an F, I used it. Anyway.
Called everybody. I had to stop myself.
Dumb mother. But anyway, I say that, I brought that up because our romance, courtship, whatever you want to call it, did go by very quickly. I was living with my sister Dimples at the time, and he just ingratiated himself like you would not believe. My sister
Can
Dimples.
we get over the romance story about him coming to you in the storm?
Oh, Lord. What was that? Hurricane Hugh? No. It was back in 89.
I think it was Hugo.
It was back in 89 or 88, something like late 88, early 89, and there was just basically a raging storm. I mean, raging storm. Trees falling, the whole bit. And this man, I hear a knock at my window. I'm thinking, who's that? I open up my curtain, and there he is standing at the window. And I go, what are you doing here? And he said, I had to come check on my baby. Now, y'all, I think y'all kind of figured me out. I can be sarcastic at times. I looked at him and went, well, I'm fine. Go back home.
And close the daggone curtains. I'm standing outside in daggone
gale force winds.
Yeah. She gonna close the he said, okay, I'm fine.
and Dimples goes, who is that? I went, that was Joe. She said, outside? I went, yeah, he's outside the door, outside the window. Did you let him in? No, I didn't tell him to drive all the way over here from Greensboro. She let him in. But anyway.
Ooh, honestly, we're gonna move on, but put a pin in the mind about how, Daddy, you overcame dealing with such a scorned woman. No, but seriously, because women need to know that, because you saw in her what she didn't see in you yet, and what she didn't see in herself.
Oh, I saw it in myself.
You didn't see yourself as no godly woman. Let's be real. You was a sailor, cussing like a sailor.
I saw
Daddy
myself
saw you as a godly woman.
Oh, shut up. But anyway, I brought that all up because our courtship was very, very short. It was very short. And once we realized that we were going to get married, which is, my sister Penny has to tell you about the proposal, completely hilarious. But once we decided we were going to get married, we did move into an apartment where we lived for 2 months before we actually got married. Yes. Oh. And you know, a lot of people were like, especially on his side, were like, oh yeah, you go ahead and tell them what they were like.
Well, put it this way. You know, they were very judgmental, but Miriam and I both knew that the way we were doing things weren't the exact right way to do things. But at the time, we were at a spiritual stage to where, yes, we were spiritual, but we were more carnal than spiritual.
Yeah.
And so we were growing in our relationship with God and in our relationship with each other. And God had us meet right at the right time to grow together. Now, will I encourage other people to move in together before they get married? No.
Because we know what we did wasn't right, but it wasn't like we were living together 5-6 years and all that kind of stuff. But a lot of it had to do with Joe's living situation, which interesting. It had to do with his living situation, and he was pretty much staying with me at my sister Dimple's house, and I was like, nah, this ain't right. We need to move out. And we did. Like I said, we lived in an apartment in our first little place in Kernersville for 2 months before we actually got married. But we had a very quick courtship. I'm trying to get back to this video. We had a very quick courtship. And as I look back on it, unlike her, I wasn't, because like I said, I was very angry and I was down on men in general. I wasn't looking for anybody. So that means that I wasn't telling him, you know, this is what I want. This is what I need. This is what I want. I made him fight for it. I had to know, because I did some crazy stuff and said some crazy stuff to him to see if he really wanted me, how he really felt about me. And I give him credit. He hung in there. Now, in this day and age with catfishing and all that kind of stuff, I wonder if back then, if all that were around, if it would have gone like it went for us.
No.
No.
It was a simpler time.
Yeah, it was very much a simpler time. But to me, like I said, this woman, she just put it all out there from what I understand. She didn't leave any mystery. She didn't leave anything for him to find out about her. Mm-hmm. And I can honestly say, because your daddy is always saying, Miriam, I know you like a book. I know you like a book. He's still discovering things about me. Even after 36 years together, almost 35 years of marriage in September, we're still discovering things about each other. And some of those things that we're discovering ain't that good. But they are what they are. And that's all I got to say about it. It was a different time.
Yes.
Let's get back to True Blue. We tight like blue.
Okay. And so watching that video made me think about one of the elements in particular, and that is trust.
Well, why don't you give us a brief, just a name of the 9.
Okay.
Just name the 9 elements of marriage glue and then go into that.
Okay. So, the number one element is that the relationship is God ordained. Number 2, love based on decision. Number 3, commitment. Number 4, trust. Number 5, compromise. Number 6, compassion. Number 7, purposeful listening. Number 8, sexual intimacy. And number 9 is faithfulness. And so when I was watching that video, I thought about the trust element and the fact that the woman was too forthcoming with her trust with this man that she didn't know that well. Okay? Because trust, Miriam and I had a discussion beforehand.
This past Sunday, discussion.
Just going over all of these elements. And one of the things that we said about trust, so let me find it. It said, we came to this conclusion. Waters must be troubled and tested when it comes to trust. Mm-hmm. Because that person, they have to be proved during the times where the water is troubled. And she didn't know nothing about this man. They hadn't went through nothing together, but that's the only way that she's gonna know that this person is gonna have my back when things are hard. Like when she was in that when she lost the baby and he was nowhere to be found. See, that was the testing of the waters, mm-hmm. right there. I mean, it's good that she found out later than sooner.
Yeah.
You know, but if she would have took her time and was more patient, then she would have figured that out beforehand.
It wouldn't have taken losing the whole baby. She could have noticed things about his character in smaller ways.
Yes, and then see, that's another thing about trust. About trust. And excuse me, because I'm trying to find my place on my phone.
Well, when we talked about trust, we were talking to our son Stephen and his wife Savannah this past Sunday. And Joe just got off on trust and trust this and trust that. And one thing that I brought up to him was that just because you trust somebody one way doesn't mean that you trust somebody another way. Trust is one of those things, like he said, it comes with times. It comes with situations. I trust you with money, but I don't trust your fidelity. Okay? I trust you to take care of the kids, but I don't trust you with my heart. Trust is something just very fragile. And once it's even cracked and other things seep in, trust is... When you lose trust in a marriage in one area, doubt seeps in another. And even if you go to counseling, you do this, you do that, it took a second to break it, but it could take years to regain it. Trust is just one of those things that just doesn't come overnight. And one thing that Joe knows about me, I am not a trusting person. Joe will meet somebody and instantly take what they said as gospel, and they told me this, and I'm like, yeah, and you don't know that person from John's Alley Cat. You can't trust everything they say. Where he approaches people with trust and this, I approach people like this. Hey, how you doing? And inside I'm going, yeah, we gonna see. And I don't know if you all know it or not, but I'm slightly older than Joe. I'm 62. Joe's 58. He'll be 59 in June. So just those 3.5 years of living, they've made a difference. And I know a lot of things about trust, even in marriage, can be colored by your experiences. And that's probably one of the reasons I gave this man so much hell when he came along. Because of people, relationships, and all that, I had lost trust, and I did not trust easily. So when you talk about trust in marriage, it takes time to build that. Mm-hmm. Because just like I brought in all my baggage, I don't want to make it seem like I was just super-ish the whole time. He had his baggage too. And as time went on, like we talked about in the other video with money and stuff, I had to prove myself with him that he could trust me with money. So that was an area that we trusted each other in, as far as me being able to make sure the money went to where it's supposed to be. But you've also got to trust each other sexually. You got to trust the person with your heart. It's just so many different ways that trust comes into a marriage. It's just not about fidelity. It's just about so many different areas. I'm sorry. I feel like I just went totally off the rails.
Josh gonna cut this part out, but
Yeah.
it probably can't do all 9 in one video.
Oh no, we know we're
Okay.
not gonna do all
Oh,
9 in
okay,
one
okay.
video. We know that.
Yeah, focus on one per.
Yeah, that's what we're doing.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So when Miriam was talking, she was talking about doubt, and doubt is the enemy of the adhesiveness of your relationship, because of course you know doubt and trust can't occupy the same space. And so you have to, just like faith grows, your trust in a person is constantly evolving.
Yes.
Evolving.
Yes.
As you two are going through life experiences.
Mm-hmm.
And so by the time you've been married as long as Miriam and I, you should have a solid bond.
Mm-hmm. You should.
You should. And I know it's not always the case with every marriage, but over time, that bond should be so strong, because you have been with that person, and that person should be your ride or die, and y'all have seen so many things in your relationships, and you've been together through the ups and the downs,
the good and the bad.
Yeah, the good and the bad. And just like Miriam and I was having a conversation about the struggles that we have went through, as far as going from upper middle class income to poverty level overnight twice, not one time, 2 times. And the first time we ended up losing our home to foreclosure.
Funny story. We were getting ready, and I thought about when this young man on this reaction video was talking. We knew that the house was going to be in foreclosure. We knew we were going to lose the house, and it was like, okay, now we just got to think about the next step. And Joe looks at me and goes, Miriam. I went, He goes, what if you found out I really was quite rich, and that I was just putting you through all this to make sure you love me? I looked at him and I smiled and I said, well, first I'll get the house out of foreclosure, pay off all of our bills, and then we'll go on a cruise that you won't come back from. Man overboard! He didn't find that funny at the time. I did. Okay, go ahead.
But anyway, during that time when my manhood was actually like ripped out of my chest, and I was like, just at my lowest, she let me know that I could trust her, because she stuck by my side. She didn't beat me over the head over things. Like when we lost our biggest account, which was
$80,000 a year.
Yeah, that she and I said, and I made the statement that I lost the account. She said, no, we lost the account. When she made that statement, that let me know that she was my ride or die. That she was somebody that I could trust no matter what came about. And when you got a person like that, you know that that's a person that you can build a future with.
Oh, choo-choo.
That you can build a future with, and they will always be by your side. Now I'm just gonna read a little bit. Well, I'm gonna read over what I wrote down about trust. With trust, there is a mutual reliance on the integrity of character we both walk in. You're not taunted by the fear of betrayal when you really trust somebody. With this said, trust is not all inclusive, because you may not trust someone in every area, like Miriam mentioned. Mm-hmm. Trust is like faith. It is constantly growing or evolving. And I mentioned this earlier. Trust can only be settled through trouble and things coming to a head. Waters must be troubled. That's the only way that you know that you can really trust somebody. Yeah, and I'm thinking about that I think that New Edition song, Sunny Days. How'd it go?
I don't know.
But can't Sunny Days, everybody loves them, but can you stand the rain?
Oh, yeah, can you stand the rain?
Yeah. Now, where's that?
No, that's not the same song.
That's not the song.
No, that's not the same
Get
song.
your window.
No,
that's a different
no.
song. I'm not the biggest New Edition fan.
Was that
I
New
like
Edition
some
or
of
was
the
that
stuff. I don't know.
another group? I think that was New Edition. Sunny days, everybody loves them. Tell me, baby, can you stand the rain?
Ask Stephanie LeGrand. Stephanie LeGrand can tell you if that was New Edition or not. So Stephanie, you let us know.
I'm pretty sure that was New Edition. Cause I can see Ralph singing that song. Yeah, that's
My
New
daddy's
Edition.
R&B, my mama's rock and roll.
Yes.
And I will see that sooner or later.
Well, I think that this was a good first video to kind of break the ice on marriage glue, and each element we're going to really spend time just talking about it, and we may have a reactionary video, we may not, and we may even have another couple sitting with us talking about a different element. But just stay tuned, like, subscribe, and share.
Tell Pukanim.
Yep, tell everybody about Joseph and Miriam's
Marriage hacks.
the marriage hack.
Share the video.
Yep.
Like the video.
Yeah, like the video.
Post the video.
Post the video. That's right. And we will see you guys on the next one.
Thank you.